What's good, everybody? Chris here again. Chris Goes Outdoors. Last video, or maybe in this video, we set up the REI Flash Air 1. We're gonna sleep in it tonight and see how it goes. Weather's supposed to be a little cloudy, drop down into the low 40s, high 30s where I am, and it's supposed to be fairly windy. So I think it'll be good, at least anyway, to give it a little test run, a good initial test run anyway. So we'll see how it does tonight, see how it fares. I'm mainly interested to see how the condensation is, so. Alright, so at the moment we're just hanging out. It is about 7:30 at night. It's about 47 degrees where I am right now. I do have both doors closed, and I'm debating if I want to keep it that way. It's actually supposed to drop right below freezing. I just double checked the weather. It's supposed to get to 33. I'm fairly sure I'll get a good amount of condensation on here. It's essentially what happens with one-person shelters to begin with. I'm camped on grass. I'm also relatively close to marshland. It rained all day yesterday. It's fairly warm and it's dropping low, and then I don't know, we'll see what happens, see how it performs. I'll try to wake up a couple times throughout the night to check to see how bad the condensation is, and if it does get really bad, maybe I'll try to open up the door and let it ventilate a little bit and see what's up. The actual ventilation point, I don't know if you can see it up there, is open, so the one vent spot up above, there's some mesh where some air can get out, that is open. But there are two little spots on the bottom of the floor that are also open. So, midnight update, condensation, not bad at all. I don't know how well you can see, but there's very little condensation at all. Not too bad. We'll see where the rest of the night takes us. Try to look again, maybe around like 3 or 4, and then closer to when the sun gets up, so we'll see. Next morning, 7 in the morning, I missed the 4 o'clock wake up that I thought I was going to do because I slept like an absolute rock. I checked the temps and it's in the 30s, high 30s right now. And I have checked for condensation and there is surprisingly little. I slept most of the night on my side like this. So little condensation, like right where I was breathing out, and a little right above my head, but it's such like a light layer of it. Like, it's not bad at all. I expected condensation in here to be significantly worse this morning. Down here, it's like nothing. Nothing. So, not too bad. The tent seems to have performed pretty decently in conditions I thought would be pretty bad for condensation. Of course, this is only one night, so we would have to do significantly more testing. I would like to see it in the rain as well, but I am 6 feet tall. I cannot sit directly up in this tent. Not a deal breaker for me at all. Even in the Solplex, it was pretty tight for me to sit up, but I can kind of, I suppose, but I just push the bug netting up. But if I just dip my head down even just a little bit, it actually kind of makes it sittable. So one other point of general concern with this tent is, you can see right here, it has this overlap of fabric right here, but right underneath it is this zipper. This zipper is not waterproof. If you look really close, you can see space right between the teeth of the zipper. So I guess my concern, let's say you're getting torrential rain and you're getting really strong gusts of wind blowing that rain up under this, that water could all leak right into this zipper, which is a little worrisome. I kind of wish that this fabric strip was a little longer down this side, so maybe like all the way down across here. But again, I could just be freaking out over nothing, and it could just possibly be a non-issue. So again, haven't used the tent out in the rain at all, so that will just be something to keep an eye on either way. All right, it's been a couple days now. We got some weather. So it's snowing at the moment, and it's supposed to turn to rain shortly. So essentially it's about 4 in the afternoon. I'm gonna set the tent up, leave it out here for a couple hours, see how the waterproofness does. And then around maybe 8 o'clock tonight, I'm gonna come out, start camping in it, and see how the condensation does. It's supposed to drop down into, I believe, the low 30s. It's already 38.
I don't want to say this is worst case scenario for a tent like this, but this is pretty bad case scenario. So excited to see how it performs. We'll set it up. We'll set the tent up right now. All right, so we got the tent set up. I am using the included pole, not using the trekking pole. So this is all standard stuff that came with the tent. In about 4 hours from now, I will bring my stuff out here and we'll camp out in it for the night. And yeah, we'll see how it fares. And there is a look inside, just so you can see how much tension the pole is under. I know a few people had asked about the tension on the pole, and that does seem to be just how it is. So the pole does bend a little bit when you set it up. No issues the first night anyway. And we'll see how it fares in the rain and the snow. All right, we're back outside. Tent has done well. It is still standing. The fabric surprisingly didn't lose too much tension. It's raining pretty hard though, so we're gonna take a quick look inside, see how it's done waterproof wise, and then we're gonna get in for the night. So it's in the 30s, raining really hard. All right, so it is super dark out now. I'm doing the best I can as far as light goes, but it's still rough. I'm filming on my phone because it's so wet out. I don't wanna ruin my big camera. The actual tent itself, I'll give you a look around. It doesn't appear that any water has gotten in the actual tent, which is good and expected. However, the condensation, I have a feeling, is going to be an absolute nightmare in here tonight. It's already a little bit condensation-y inside, and I just got in here. This is just from regular old rain. With that said, it is freezing rain and a mix of snow too, so we'll see how it goes. I'm a bit concerned, I will say that for sure. But we'll blow up the NeoAir X-Lite real quick, set this up, get the quilt in here, and we'll see how it goes tonight. All right, so we're essentially set up. I'm gonna try to give you a look around, just at what we got like condensation wise on the tent. This is outside the door, the net is right here. You can see it's wet. That is from when I had it up entering the tent. There are a couple little beads of water on the inside. Most of the actual water is outside. Like all this big dot stuff is on the outside. See those little dots? So that is the condensation on the inside of the door at the moment. There's essentially none really up here, a little bit, but I would say that's probably expected. I do have the upper vent open, but unfortunately you just can't really see it from where I am. And then this is right above me. You can see there is a little bit of a coating of condensation on the tent. So not a lot of condensation on the wall over here or down on the floor. And there is a little bit above my head. A little bit, not too much. Thin layer of condensation. Again, I would expect this from any tent. It doesn't matter, single wall, double wall. In the mess that we're in right now, I would expect this from any tent. So we'll see. We'll just see how it handles overnight. There's not really much else we can do. Quite positive. We'll wake up in the night and see how this goes. I'll see how wet we get in here, and hopefully it does really well. I do have the doors both closed. And again, we'll try to keep the vents on the bottom floor area open. And again, the vent up top is open as well. So only time's gonna tell. All right, so it is midnight right now. I just woke up to check to see how the condensation is. It's bad. Not unexpected in this weather, but it is getting pretty crazy in here. Significant condensation, I'll show you shortly. Essentially everywhere in the tent. So on all of the walls. The floor, surprisingly, is still pretty dry. I figured that there would be substantial runoff from the walls down to the floor, but that's not really the case. It has been substantial rain. I don't know if you can hear it. It's been like this all night so far. Like, it has not let up at all.
And what happens in my experience too from other shelters, condensation mostly sticks to the wall, but when there's really heavy rain, especially like big drops, you'll get a little bit of splash off of the actual walls onto you, and that's what's happening right now. So not the end of the world, and again, especially in weather like this, I feel like it's unavoidable, at least in my experience. But we'll give you a look just so you can see anyway what I'm talking about condensation wise. But yeah, it's pretty gnarly. You should be able to see pretty significant condensation all along here. The tent is not touching my actual sleeping bag, but there is a lot of splashback from the actual tent. It also looks like up there where the zipper goes, the stitching on the actual zipper, it looks like rain is coming through the actual stitching as well. I tried to point it out. So right along here is the stitching for the zipper. It definitely looks like water is leaking through there as well. So that down there is the far end where my feet are. This is the wall to my left. This is pretty much condensation city as well, but you can see just beads of water essentially everywhere. It's gonna be hard to show above me. No, it's not. It's actually easy because my other light is on. Condensation all over the place in here. It's not really leaking down from the walls onto the floor as bad as I thought it would. So it does have that going for it. But again, this is probably worst case scenario as far as condensation would go in this tent. I wouldn't say it was unexpected. However, the stitching up there that looks like it's leaking, that is definitely unexpected. And not just unexpected, but unacceptable. So I don't know about that. We'll see. Gonna hang out here probably at least another 6 hours. So assuming that I don't get absolutely drenched and have to bail, I genuinely hope that's not the case. And we'll see if we can ride out the storm. So this is directly above my head. And remember when I said condensation leaking down the walls onto the floor? Yeah. So it's happening. You can kind of see all the little spots of condensation, but yeah, they are definitely turning into bigger pools, and the condensation is in fact running straight down the walls into the floor of the tent, as I unfortunately thought was going to happen. And it seems to be the case literally along the entirety of the tent. Is condensation running down the walls into the bathtub the end of the world? It's pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie. Based on the conditions, again, I think it was expected. If you had a ton of stuff in here, a ton of gear and stuff like that laying around on the floor around you, it would all be pretty wet. And I have not had that happen in my Solplex, again, because down here, and I hope you can see, on the Solplex, there is a spacing between the wall and the floor of mesh. So any sort of condensation like that typically runs down the walls through the mesh out of the tent. It hurts to say, but if you're in a super, super wet environment and plan to use this often, I don't know, man. Could you make it work? Absolutely. I think I could make it work, but I don't know if this would be my first choice, if I'm being honest. I would probably stick with my Solplex. But I think having the wall and the floor meet like this along the entirety of the tent was just, it was probably cost saving and weight savings they were trying to go for. And I think it was probably not the best idea. You need some sort of spacing between this, in my opinion. But based on the condensation I see, again, worst case scenario kind of night, it would be a very, very, very tough recommendation for me to make. So I'm going to completely refrain from recommending it and just let you see what I've shown you and you make the decision there. The entire left side of my quilt is pretty much drenched. Can you see there? Yeah, it's completely different color. I thought I was keeping it off of the wall pretty good through the night, but apparently not the case. Luckily it's hydrophobic down, so it kept me pretty warm throughout the night, but it is definitely wet, significantly on the left side where the wall is. It stayed up, kept its shape, but the condensation, man, the condensation. And again, I did have the vent open, but the vent is so small, I just don't feel like it really helped that much. It actually looks like it kind of moved a little too, flattened itself out when it got wet. So I'm gonna leave this out. I'm not even gonna pack it up. It's supposed to get sunny and a little warmer this afternoon, so we'll let this guy dry out. Man, sucks.